So a part of yourself is going there, and you are not here anymore.
Right.
At every time, all the day, you are here, and then someone call you. Okay, now I'm in Paris or in Tokyo. I don't know. Okay, how are you? And a part of ourselves is going away.
That's so interesting.
So it's so difficult to be exactly where we are and
Fully.
you know.
Holy. All right. Welcome back to Beyond the Hustle. Today we have a very special guest, Valerie. How do you say it?
Valerie.
Valerie.
That's it.
Full name is Valerie
Jaenada du Sol.
Valerie Jaenada du Sol.
That's it. Perfect.
And she is here on what I would imagine, we'll talk about it more, is a world tour, a traveling expedition of sorts. And you're now stopping here in Taipei, Taiwan. I believe we met just a couple days ago at an art exhibition, Taipei Dang Dai. And you're
Great
here visiting your son here in Taiwan. And you told me some very interesting things. So I wanted to just, take the time to have you here on the podcast, Beyond the Hustle, where we explore the nexus between spirituality, creativity, entrepreneurship, and overall various ways to cultivate more abundance in our life. And I feel like from our initial conversation, you are a woman of a well of wisdom. So thank you for being on the show, Valerie.
Thank you to you.
Pleasure to have you.
Happy to be here.
And I will just start off by asking you to tell myself and the viewers a little bit about yourself and, what brought you to Taiwan, and then you can kind of bring it back from there.
So, as you say, I'm just in Taiwan for a few days. I'm traveling for now 3 years, 4 years all over the world.
Wow.
I have 3 children and they have grown up. And
They're big now.
I was traveling when I was 20 years old. It was for me my best school, and I discovered the world through my travels. And now I'm lucky enough to be able to travel again alone.
Right. Wow.
And it's a great experience. Very happy to be again in Taiwan. I love this island. Before, my first job was stewardess for Air France.
Wow.
And I did that job because I wanted to travel. I made, when I was 20 years old, with a friend, a round trip all over the world. And when I came back to France, I said, okay, I want to travel all my life. So I decided to do that job. And I became a stewardess. And then 3 children were born.
Later.
So I stay at home and stay with them. I was practicing and teaching yoga.
Wow.
So I created a yoga association. I had a place near my home, so I was able to teach and to be with my children. And then it was for maybe 15 years. And then I wanted to create another things with, I'm vegetarian, and 35 years ago, to be vegetarian was not so easy.
So
it was
taboo.
Just it was taboo. It was a crazy thing.
Right. Everyone thought, what are you guys doing?
You can't.
You can't survive off vegetables.
You can't survive.
And now, 2024, it's like...
It's like a fashion. If you're not vegetarian, right. It's not good. But so I wanted to create restaurant, delivery, healthy food, vegetarian food for companies, because I was conscious that it was really difficult to eat healthy food when you were working.
Right.
So I wanted to...
Fast, healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I live in a place where there were a lot of farmers and vegetables and good things, natural things. And so I cooked them and bring them to the companies, and it was a great experience too.
Oh, I can imagine. And I'm sure it was delicious.
It was delicious. I love cooking and with natural and healthy foods, and there's so many good things in nature, with colors and good for health, and
Right.
so it was a great experience. And then we had to move with the children, and we went to a city in the south of France.
Sorry, what year was that you were doing this basically a fast, almost like an innovative way to get healthy, natural food
Working
to offices and
to
workers,
offices, that's it.
people in their 9 to 5, busy,
Yeah, exactly.
as we say in New York, the hustle bustle.
That's it.
Right.
I wanted them to have a short time in their day.
To reconnect with good food.
That's it.
What year was this?
It was 2010.
Oh wow! So that's even that's
2000.
that's like
Yeah.
we're gonna get back to that because
Yeah,
I have
okay.
some good stories
Okay.
about what happens after 2010
Yeah.
in the food industry, in the culinary world. From some of my time in New York, I've worked with some great chefs, and one of them did a stage at Noma
Okay.
with Rene Redzepi in Copenhagen.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about
Okay,
this almost like an explosion of reconnecting with nature. So that's amazing.
It
So
was
you
the
were
beginning,
you were
that's
already
it.
at the beginning of this
It was the beginning.
this tail end. So okay, you went. So now you moved with the children.
Yeah, we had to move in the city in the south of France, and so I asked myself, okay, I like to travel, I like good and healthy food, and what else? And I love books.
Books.
So yeah, so I wanted to work in a bookstore, and so I had to study again, because in
Right.
France, if you want to work in library or bookstore, you have to be certified.
Right, certified.
Certified,
Right.
And so I went to school again for 2 years, and then I worked in a nice bookstore in Aix-en-Provence
Wow.
for 4 years. It was great.
Just
working in literature,
Wow.
and I love story. It's like traveling,
Right.
And I realized that traveling, cooking food, and yoga and books, it's the same. It's just traveling all over the world, and meeting people, different culture, and sharing. And so that's it.
Wow. Well, that sounds like quite the as I like to put it, a life of renaissance.
Yeah,
Just
you can tell it.
Inspiration, sustenance in your soul.
Yeah.
I guess you can say experiences that get you excited.
Yeah.
To come to enter tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that's amazing, and I'm excited to like kind of talk to you about a couple of the focus areas.
Mm-hmm.
Here on this show, Beyond the Hustle, we really are curious, and I'm curious about how different people cultivate their livelihoods in ways that give them joy, purpose, meaning, constant creativity. Because I think we are at a time now that there's a shift happening where we're losing touch with our human-centric connection as we're becoming a more tech-centric world. So I'm happy that we can explore some of that, because I have here, I'll go over a few of the areas before we get into it, but I have here, one area will be wisdom. I'm curious where you get your wisdom from. Another area is, of course, the technical aspects to kind of knowing that wisdom. Then there's the energy, which I like to understand as the philosophical understanding that derives energy from. And then we go into peak. I want to know about like the phenomenons that happen from being in this kind of state of mind. Like what happens in reality, that being in this kind of like vibration or this frequency, what starts occurring. And then so you got wisdom, reason, energy, peak. How much is that? 1, 2, 3. I feel like I'm missing one. 4. What's my fifth one?
Peak. Peak is peak.
Reason, energy, peak, and the why. Let's not forget the why. So that goes back to the purpose.
Yeah.
So I'll start. I'll start there actually, and as we we'll let it flow from there. But what do you feel is your why? What wakes you up every day?
The joy of being alive, for sure. I'm really aware every morning that I'm lucky to be alive and happy to begin a new day, and aware that it's really a present to be alive.
Wow. And do you feel like that also gets you excited? That gets you hyped?
Of course, because every day is brings new occasions to meet people and a lot of surprise every day. And when I wake up in the morning and at the evening before sleeping, I'm just grateful. And I see, okay, thank you for this present and this surprise. And for me, it's really important.
Yeah.
And important to be grateful at the end of the day. And I say, wow, I didn't know it's going to happen like this. Or
Right. Was there somebody in your life, maybe growing up, that like you saw this first?
yeah, my mother.
So your mother had this.
Yeah.
What would you describe it as? It's just like this ball of light or energy.
Yeah, energy. I have the memories when I wake up when I was a child and she was opening the curtains and she say, "There's sun. Wake up, sun is here." And okay, it was the first things in the day, you know. And she taught me to breathe, to look at nature. And I remember when I was a child and she said, look at the nature, look at the trees. I say, okay, it's just trees. Okay, I breathe. And now I realize how important it was.
Right.
And I keep it with me, and it's really important, yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I mean, I do think there's nature does hold such a profound
and
wisdom and a reason that sometimes we don't always know.
I think
most times.
For me, I realize it little by little, and now that I'm older, I say, of course, it's incredible, and nature is incredible. But when I was younger, it was obvious, you know. Nature is here, and it's okay. And
what do you think that is? I feel like young people today, or that's like the classic story of a young person. Why are we always in such a rush to grow up? And why are we always running past?
It's a good question. It's like I think for me, when I was a child, it was what is going to happen after. What will I do? What is going to happen? And little by little, it's happening every day. And the most important is not what is going to happen. I'm sure it's because when you become older, you don't see so far anymore, and you just say, okay, there's many things behind, and now the most important is what is here that day, because I don't know. And life teaches us that we don't know tomorrow.
Right.
So enjoy the day is important.
Right. I mean, that is quite the place to be in.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, how do you stay mindful? How do you stay in that space? Are there times where something draws you out of that space? Of course, life happens.
Of course. Now it's easier because, as I say, now I'm traveling and I'm just open to, I don't have the rhythm of a job or...
Right.
When I was working, it was more difficult to be aware of that um, beauty of the world and of the moment, and now it's easier.
Do you think being aware of that, like, is something that people should practice?
Sure.
Do you think it would actually increase more, I guess you can say, connection to people's work,
Sure.
people's purposes?
But again, it's not so easy when we are working and in relation with people, or in a big city in the metro with a lot of energies, different energies, and someone is thinking about something and the other one of other things. So it's really not easy. It's easier to be at the top of a mountain in meditation, but it's
Right.
not possible to stay up in the mountain.
Right.
So there's different way. I think meditation is, even if it's just 5 minutes per day or 10 minutes per day, but it's a really good way just to listen to our breath and feeling that we are alive,
Right.
and connecting with nature. Nature is magic for that.
Right. How would you recommend someone's, like, when you say 5 minutes a day?
Yeah.
Do you find a quiet room? Like, how would you recommend people start doing that?
I think to find a place where we feel well, good energy. It depends for each one, but
Every space is different for different people,
yeah,
right?
nice place, maybe a candle, maybe a music, and just listening to our breath.
Mm-hmm.
It's really important. Just that, because during the day when we are speaking with people or working, we don't even realize that we are breathing. And just that, listening to inspire, expire, it's really good.
Puts you back in the rhythm.
Yeah.
Wow. I wanted to ask you, can you discuss the synergy between cultivating mindfulness and pursuing ambitious goals in your personal and professional life? What's that synergy look like?
For me, in my experience in my life, it was being mindful is, it was for me the way to listen to my heart. And when I was doing a job or something, and when I felt that it was not anymore the right thing, or when I felt that something else was calling, and just listening to that, and even if it was not, and above all, if it was not reasonable, stop what I was doing if I didn't do it anymore with my heart, and changing everything.
Listening to that.
Yeah.
Do you have an
little voice.
Do you have an example of that? Like, was there a specific moment where you're like,
Each moment, great changes in my life. It was
from that voice?
Yeah.
Wow.
When I decided to go traveling all over the world with my friend when I was 20, we were at universities, and I like it was okay for me. I liked studying, and one morning I was in the metro. There was a lot of people, and it was not good. Bad energy, bad vibes, and I went at the school, and I was speaking with a friend of mine, and I said I don't feel good. I don't know why I don't know where I'm going, and why do I go to university every morning? And so she asked me, what do you want to do? And I say, I want to travel. Okay, I want to travel all over the world. And it was 40 years ago,
Right.
And she said, okay, so do it. And I said, okay, you're right, I'm going to do it. And it's possible. And so I stopped university. I went in restaurant, working in restaurant to get money. And 1 year later, I had a plane ticket and I went.
That's amazing.
And it's like that. I think it's,
Yeah.
if you decide, if you listen when it's not anymore good for you, and we have the answer.
Right. Right. I think I can see where this conversation should lead to, and it should lead to this the concept of traveling. I think that's a perfect bridge into wisdom and belief, because I do want to ask you, just for fun, are there any quotes? I know you said you read a lot of books. Are there any quotes or mottos or sayings that you love or that drives you when you think of like a saying or a quote or something like that?
Quotes, you mean?
Like perhaps a motto or like a driving statement that first thing that comes to your mind that drives you or that gets you inspired, that you love. Like for me, one thing I always go back to whenever things happens, I'll always say, it's all high tides and low tides. Everything is always rising and falling and rising again. It's always ebbing and flowing.
Yeah.
That for me puts me in that state of mindfulness, and even a low tide, things are going wrong, no business, no money, problems, but it can never remain the same.
Yeah.
In those moments, you should just, like you said, practice even more gratitude. Enjoy that low tide, because when that tide does rise,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to start paddling hard. You're gonna have to get on that board. You're gonna have to. It's gonna get, the adrenaline's coming. So, like, is there something like that for you that you go back to?
Yeah, I think I'm thinking about the fact that, as you say, it will be different tomorrow, and it never remains the same.
That's fire.
What else? I think maybe the main thing for me is I learned that I can't.
You could say it in French too, if it's
I
like,
can?
yeah, because I feel like I realized it might be in French. The saying.
In French, we say, on ne sait jamais de quoi demain sera fait, and it
That's
means we don't know. We can say, I have to do this because I want this for in 2 months, 3 months, or 1 year, but we don't know. So what I know is that my good intention, I do my best, doing what I like to do and trying to do the best like this, but after, I don't know.
Right.
After, it's the universe, and
That's
the
amazing.
good intention is really important. I really think that we can't just stay like this, saying, okay, I don't know, and let's the things will be like that. No, we have to do. We have to believe. But as soon as we have the intention, the right intention, the good intention, after we have to let it go.
Which leads us back to that moment again. Ticket in hand. You believed this is what you had to do.
That's it.
And then you got on that plane. And then how long were you traveling? So from that plane moment, what was that time frame of travel?
The first time
For
1 year and a half.
Year and a half.
Yeah.
Just out there.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
And at that time, there was no internet, It
Right.
means 1 year and a half without news from the family, and
right. No constant updates,
Yeah.
not filming yourself,
Yeah.
not posting, not
Yeah,
sharing where you're
nothing.
at.
Nothing. And that was really freedom.
Wow. What countries did you go through?
The first one was India, because I wanted to go to India. I wanted to. I was practicing yoga, and I wanted to go to the country.
This is
where
in the
yoga
80s?
Born for me, yeah.
This is in the 80s?
Sorry.
This is in the 80s? This time period? What year was this? when you first went to
Yeah,
India?
it was.
Les années 80.
Wait, yeah, it was 87.
That's fire. See, I was born
87.
89,
Yeah,
and you're traveling India. That's
87.
fire.
So India and Nepal, Kathmandu,
Ooh,
and then Indonesia, Thailand, Hong Kong, Philippines, Australia, New Zealand, Tahiti, French Polynesia,
wow.
and then Los Angeles. And we wanted to go all over United States, but
The
when
road
I
trip.
arrived in Los Angeles, I had no shoes, because in Tahiti you don't have shoes.
You don't need shoes.
So when I arrived in Los Angeles, they looked at me and they said, "You have no shoes." I said, "No, I have no shoes." "So you can't stay in United States. You arrived in United States and you have no shoes." And I said, "No, I have no shoes." "Okay, so you have 3 days to go out of United States." Okay.
This
so
is what the custom agent said in
yeah.
the airport?
Yeah, at the airport. And so they gave me only 3 days to go out. So we take a bus
They-
to...
Why couldn't they say 3 days, go get a pair of shoes?
So just say, you have 3 days and you have to go out. So we went to Tijuana.
Wow.
It was great.
Tijuana.
Spent few days in Tijuana, and then Mexico, and then great time in Mexico, and then Peru, and Bolivia, and Brazil, and Venezuela.
My God. All in a year and a
And,
half
yeah.
at 20
Yeah,
in the 80s.
in the 80s.
That's amazing.
It was easy. It was really nice. I learned a lot. I came from France, and in France and in my education, it was be careful of the stranger, be careful, close the door. And in the world, all the doors were open, and people say, "Come at home and eat with us." And wow, for me, it was just incredible.
Right. I mean, for anybody listening right now, you know, I would consider you like what we say in New York, you're the OG. You're like the OG vagabond, the OG hippie.
Mm.
You were doing like there is a time I think in that that period that maybe like the 60s to 80s
Yeah.
where I feel like because also my father had a very similar kind of travel expedition where it's like that was the highest form of drug was traveling.
Yeah.
And that was the leap. That was like and nowadays it's more it's trendy. You know, people do it
It's different.
for vanity. So can we like I would love to understand how do you see from your point of view of traveling, what it means to travel and how you see the way people travel now. Do you see any parallels, similarities or differences?
There's a lot of differences, and there's a lot of similarity. It's difficult when I feel I was really lucky to experience traveling without social medias, without being connected. That for sure. But now, when I'm traveling, I keep the same way of traveling. That means I don't want to book before. I don't want to see when I arrived. I was last year for the first time in Colombia, and I refuse to see on internet what does it look like and to book before a hotel or to book a bus or train. I refuse that. But there's also, for me now, I couldn't travel. Yeah, I could do, but it's good for me because with my 3 children, I can stay in contact with them, sending photos, and we can calling in FaceTime, and I think when I was 20, I was alone. I could travel, and Now, I'm not sure thanks to that medias, I can travel and stay in contact with my children,
Right.
So it's good. It's really
Right.
good.
That's very sweet. That's very sweet. Just be able to. It's almost like you're able to share on the go. So
Yeah.
for you, it's very
To
practical.
share, and if they need anything, they can call me, and
Right.
that's why I have a phone.
Right.
If it was not for my children, I think
That's true. I thought of that today, actually. Like the phone, to be able to be contacted at
Yeah.
all times, almost like primitive telepathy.
Yeah.
Right. So, is it a good thing? Because sometimes I also feel kind of like what you mentioned. I like that you said it's just like pure freedom. Sometimes I miss those times of just like no phone, no connection. You're off the grid, can't be reached.
Yeah.
Everyone will be fine.
Yeah.
So it almost makes me think, like, is being so connected to each other a form of fear?
Yeah, I think so.
And why do you think we're obsessed with that?
Oh, that's a good question, but
Like, leaving my phone at home means someone might hit me up. Someone might message me. I might miss something. I might,
that's it.
right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what, but it's so like I have to keep it
Yeah,
on me.
of course.
But I miss those days, like you said, of like, nah, I'm going to leave the phone at home.
And I think
People
it's not really human to, we can't feel exactly what we have to feel at that moment, because we can be call, and so call to another place, someone call you from another city, or from another part of the city, or from another country, and so a part of yourself is going there, and you are not here anymore.
Right.
At every time, all the day, you are here, and then someone call you. Okay, now I'm in Paris or in Tokyo. I don't know. Okay, how are you? And a part of ourselves is going away.
That's so interesting.
So it's so difficult to be exactly where we are and
Fully.
holy.
Holy. That's a good entendre. WH, holy, or dare I say HO, holy. Holy.
That's
or
it.
holy.
Yeah, exactly.
That reminds me of a funny realization I had. I was working at a restaurant when I was in my teens, and for the audience, I'm 35, so I was in my teens. It's years ago, but I remember the first time I saw two people sitting at a table, man and a woman, on a date, and they were both looking at their phones. And I remember that was strange to me in that moment. And I even made a little joke about it. Like, I remember that day. I remember that night. I was just like, I just looked at my colleague. I was like, yo, are they on a date? And I was like, they must be talking to each other on the phone, right? They have to be. Fast forward to today, it's common practice.
Yeah, of course.
To be at a table and your attention is on your phone or on your email or who knows. But it's like, so what's your take on attention? What's that power? Talk about attention for me.
Of course. It's about intention.
Intention, but more so, why is our attention so valuable when it comes to being present and mindful? And I think that goes back to what you said about mindfulness and gratitude and awareness. So what is attention, and how can we control our attention?
I think leaving the phone at home would be a good start.
That's hard to do.
It would be a good start. And I'll put it off for a while. But now we have to do an effort to do that. And before when there were no phones, it was natural.
I'll be home at 7.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I still remember, like, you go to the person's house or you call the landline phone
Uh-huh.
and you're like, are they free? Are they available? Can,
Exactly.
can Charlie come out to play at, like, 3 p.m.? And they're like, yeah, sure. Well, I'll tell him. I'll send a message for you. It was like more trust.
It was totally different. I remember when I was stewardess, I was in transit, no, in Escal in Hong Kong. And we went to the restaurant, and it was the time of the first phones, mobile phones. And so I heard ringing a phone in the restaurant, and I said, well, what happened? And I saw a man with his phone on the table. And so he took it and he spoke in his phone. I said, what is he doing? We have phone at home. Why does he brings a phone at the restaurant? Why? You
That's
have one at
interesting.
phone. And I couldn't understand, really. Say, we don't need it. You are when you come back at home, you have your phone, you can phone. Why
Why is it so important that you
why
need
so
to have
yeah.
that convo?
And really I couldn't understand the fact. And now it's you can't live without. It's incredible for me. I remember that moment when I say, it's not possible. Why does he have a phone with him? And now
Almost funny,
everybody-
almost funny, right?
And now everybody has phone and
On them at all times.
all times.
It's very interesting. I was gonna ask you too. What is the difference for you between belief and faith?
That's a good question again.
Like, do you have a specific faith that drives you? Do you believe in God, a higher power? Of course, you said the universe, spirit science, aliens. But I think even at 20, there are people in today at 20 years old that don't have the courage to do that, to just go, travel, go after it. So I'm wondering, what is that difference between faith and belief for you? Like, what gave you that extra?
Maybe for me, it's a question, of belief, because you have to be confident. And when people say it's a question of courage, for me, it was not courage, it was easy. But it may certainly because I was confident, and because my parents told me you can do it. When I told them I'm going to travel all over the world, they look at me and they say, no, you can't do it. But I had that confidence, it's possible. Because I had, and I think it came from, I don't know from where, but it's a question of confidence.
I think so too. I think of the book The Alchemist, one of my favorite books, Paulo Coelho, naturally. And so it makes me think, like, what was that personal legend for you? Were you chasing, or were you, like, was it, I guess I'm trying to explain it, like, was it a pull or a push? Was it wind behind
Both.
you? It was both.
Both. Really both. Really.
And what do you think that was? Was that God? Was that universe? Was that...
At the time I didn't know, and now when I look at that and when I think about that, I think it's what I said at the beginning, that little voice.
Right.
And I think it's God in everybody has this little voice.
Right.
And I think it's the same. We just have to hear it. we can call it God, we can call it universe or energy, or we can put the name we want to.
Excuse me.
But I think it's something. It's our. If I really feel one responsibility today, it's to listen to that voice. It's to remember that we are all connected with something higher, and we have to listen to it, and so to realize, to express. You know, when we see a flower or a tree, there's seed and then some leaves and then a flower with colors. And I think it's exactly the same for us. And we have to do our best to express the best things we have in ourselves. And we all have beautiful things. I think that's our responsibility. And it's belief and faith.
Always.
Maybe faith for me is not higher, but universal. And belief, it's what we have to nourish in ourselves, maybe.
Right. That reminds me of, I remember I forgot where I heard it from, but it was like the difference between belief and faith is like when you watch someone in the circus, trapeze, walking the tightrope.
Mm-hmm.
Belief is knowing that this person will make it to the other side.
Okay.
But faith is you let him carry you on the tightrope.
Wow, that's a good...
So most people believe, like, will watch it, but faith is like, you're going to go up on that tight. In your case, you have faith that you can complete this trip, that you're going to be fine. That's what puts people on the plane or makes people do that, that thing they've always wanted to do, or make that call, or say yes to that decision.
Yeah.
Or that deal or something like that.
I think if we have it...
Confidence.
Yeah. If we have it in ourselves, it's that it needs to be expressed. Right. We don't have the same purpose or the same ideas. So it's... I wanted to travel, so I had to do it. Another person wanted to, I don't know, be president or doctor or... I don't know, if we have that calling in ourselves, we have to listen to it.
Yeah, that's key. I always have moments. I guess let me reflect that to you. Do you, once you have that calling, do you still have moments where you're lost?
Of course.
So how do you remember, like, you know, like there's times where I even feel like I know what my purpose is, and then there are times where it's like, what am I doing?
Of course.
How do you navigate those situations, especially on your travels?
I don't have a good sense of orientation, so I lost myself many times. And each time it's a great opportunity to meet people, to ask for my way, for
randomness.
Yeah. So I think it's important to lose ourselves to find the way.
Hence
I think
that it's almost like a what do you call it? It's not a paradox, but it's two sides of the same coin.
Exactly. Like light and dark, we have to go to the darkness if we want to recognize the light. We have to lose ourselves if you want to find the way. I think it's important. And sometimes it's in our lives, it can be long periods when we feel lost. But the most important thing is to be conscious that we feel lost and to try to find the way again.
Sometimes you even have to ask for help.
Of course.
Right?
And I had to learn that.
Hitchhike.
Yeah. And I love hitchhiking.
Yeah, that's interesting. How would you relate? I'm always interested to see, how people such as yourself who are travelers, very mindful, very kind of at one with that inner voice. But I am very curious how you adapt to today. And of course, the worlds are very different. But how do you take those skills that you learned on your travels and apply it to today? Are there moments where you realize like, oh, this reminds me like that time I hitchhiked, but it's like a situation today where it's like the same thing but different. I don't know if I'm making sense or not.
I think for me what is easy it's to be traveling, because I move from place to place, and I move to places which are where I feel good. For instance, I was in South America, in Colombia, with people very near from Mother Earth and working with the land. And for me, it's really easier than to be in a big city.
Right.
I love Paris, I love New York, but now I feel it's difficult for me to spend more than 1 week in the metro or in the streets with a lot of noise and a lot of cars and a lot of pollution. And
Right.
so I moved to other place. And when I'm in Asia and in India or in Taiwan or in Japan, I can feel the spirituality and their spirituality, and I have a lot to learn from those cultures which are different from mine. And so that's how I manage today to moving from place to place. And
That's very admirable, because we spoke about this off camera a little bit about water and how movement is life. If you're not moving, you're snoozing.
Yeah.
You're stagnant. Disease starts breeding, festering.
I really feel it.
Right. And that's a perfect segue into the next area, which is like, energy and the philosophical. I think understand. I sense that you have certain understandings that equate to the energy you get, and that the energy you feel from environments. So I love that you're talking about cultures and different environments, different places, because as you know, we're here in a core cultural studio, creative studios, and we specialize in art and culture. So I think art plays a huge role in these moments where you have an energetical connection to places. So can we talk about that? Land, people, and art from your journeys. What have you seen in those areas?
Can you say again the question?
I guess I'm asking, from your travels, your connection with the land, with the people, and with the art. How do those things talk to each other?
when I was in Colombia, I saw the pre-Columbian statues, you know, and
Then the voluptuous, right?
yeah.
Circular.
And for me, it was really, really important to realize that few years ago, and it was not so long time ago, human beings were represented like parts of, like animals and part of universe. We were,
Oh, that's cool. A pot of universe.
yeah,
We were a
and
planet.
exactly. And it was, when you see the statues, we were animals, we were stone, we were woods, we were human. And when we met at this exhibition, art exhibition, and when I'm in front of an art expression of arts, for me it's really how human beings express the higher we have in ourselves, and it can take so many different forms, but it's a way to transcend our shape, you know. We are not just those two legs and two arms and head.
Right.
And I'm always fascinating in front of paintings or sculptures or expression of how human beings can have access to higher level of expression, and I think it's art is really the free part of ourselves to express what we are. To express that we are not only, we are not that body, we are not to link with something higher.
How would you define that? What's your definition of energy? Higher energy.
It's life for me. It's a definition of life. Or God, I don't know. But it's what moves us, what is, it's life.
Yeah. I can sense, like, when I have really, deep philosophical questions with some of my friends or mentors, it transcends. Words can't touch it.
Yeah.
You can only feel it.
Yeah, can feel it, and words.
And maybe art is a small window to
Exactly.
perceive it.
Exactly.
10 more minutes.
Sounds good.
You can,
Just flow.
yeah,
Just flow.
Okay.
10 minutes. Better.
How's it sound? It sounded good? Sounded dope. Alrighty. So, I guess I can ask you, what's your version of transcendence? Like, what does transcendence look like to you?
It's the connection with the universe, with it's what relie, comment on dit qui nous relie? What links each of us? We are very, very, very small part of a huge of the universe, and transcendence is the maybe the vehicle, I don't know, what links us and can brings us to be part of the universe. It's difficult. Again, words are not so. It's difficult to put it in words.
I can imagine, and I do think we're kind of moving towards this this concept of, you know, what, you know, you said you practice yoga, so it's like what does put you in that feeling? Is it the practice of yoga? Is it the practice of traveling? You know, what could encourage people to strengthen that link?
Yoga is a very good way, ancestral way to be in contact with the higher.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I've been in India a few months ago, and when the sunrise, you can hear all the people singing to celebrate that new day, and it's a huge energy growing from the land, you know, and connecting with it. Just you can touch it. It's wow. It's vibes. It's so. It's concrete. It's here. So yeah, I think yoga is. I think it's a really good way, if not the best way, but a really good way to for the body, for the human body, to let all the to make all the energies moving and breathing, and a very good way to be connected. There's a lot of different practices like Qigong or many practices, and everybody can choose. The main thing is to feel able to be open and not to suffer, because suffering, when we suffer, when it's painful, it's difficult to be to be able to be connected with something higher, you know.
It's like a like suffering is the distraction.
Yeah.
That's
Big
fascinating.
Distraction. So yoga and meditation, for me, it's a very good way, because you can bring it with you wherever you are.
Right.
You don't need space, you don't need tools, you don't need nothing, just you and your body and your breathing. And
right. That's interesting. I mean, of course, the natural theme, all that we need is already given to us. Yeah. I was going to ask you as well, when did you first discover that your energy could transform reality?
I am still discovering that, and you spoke about telepathy, and for me it's really really interesting, and it's like a game. And I was in a bus in Colombia, and there were a lot of people, and I was on a very long trip of 10 or 12 hours, and suddenly I said, okay, I'm going to call the man at the front of the bus. He was turning back, you know.
Yeah.
I said, okay, I'm calling him. And 2 minutes after, he was just looking at me like that. And it happens, and it's so easy.
Right.
But we can't do it every time, and
right.
But
there are little moments where it's like
that, and we can see how obvious and easy it is. Um,
Sometimes I wonder, like, when you're in a pool and
mhm.
you can push a wave, or like with dolphins, they can send
Of course.
sonar or echo, or they can send bubbles. I think about like the dark matter in the space between us here, and I wonder if are we sending waves
I'm sure of
all the
that.
time.
I'm sure of that. And we have so many examples. Animals show us that thing. When I practice yoga, if there is a cat in the house, it comes.
Every time.
Every time.
Wow.
Every time. And if I meditate or doing some rituals I have, the cat is looking. And so he sees what we don't see. I don't see it, but he sees. And for me, it's really important to say, okay, there are many cats, and it's usual to see cats, but they are gods. They have that superpower.
This is where I think this part gets interesting, and we're kind of on the bridge between energy and what I call peak phenomenon,
Mm-hmm.
which once you start to be in these realizations or these understandings, you start to see things that can be perceived as miracles
Mm-hmm.
or sometimes even frightening occurrences.
Mm-hmm.
And myself, I've taken mushrooms before,
Mm-hmm.
some psychedelics here and there, but this was after I've experienced certain things. One of them was a crystal skull ceremony in 2011,
Mm-hmm.
before the 2012, transition.
Yeah.
And I went to an event with over like 250 psychics, energy workers, tarot readers, Reiki healers,
Mm.
all gathered in a room, monks, spiritualists.
Mm.
And of course, there was that, unanimous om in the room. And it literally felt like you were in the palm of the universe.
Mm.
But I remember something that shocked me was the photos from that event. Just orbs above all of us. Orbs. Little orbs. So this is kind of what I mean by like phenomena starts happening. Do you have any phenomenon like that you've experienced that was kind of like, for many people, it will frighten them. But for the handful of people who know, it just confirms what we've remembered.
Yeah, for me it's not frightened. It's I really think that miracles happen, and each time we ask for it, and again with a good intention, everything is possible. And I have many, many examples of little or big miracles, but it happens every day.
Any big one that comes to mind that you would like to share, if possible?
Every a big one, a big one. I can't find a big one, but what comes into my mind now is that when I asking for something, and that the man or the woman in front of me tell me, but it's a miracle. The last one, I have to take a plane, and the the transit was really, really short. It was in Los Angeles, um, and it was not possible. I came from Papeete, and I had to go to Paris, and it was too short. And I say, I'm sure, I'm asking, it's going to be fine. And I went to the fact is there were no seats. I didn't book my seat, so there were no seats. So when I arrived to the check-in, the woman say there's no seats. And I say, yes, there will be one for me. And she said, no, madam, I'm sorry, it's full booked. There's no seat. And I say, yes, I'm sorry, but there will be what's it, because I visualize it, and there will be what's it. And she was looking at me like that, and I say, and I was so sure, I don't so confident. She looked at me and she said, okay, you know what? I'm going to take your luggage. I check in it, and you're going to the gate, and you'll see that there's no place, and you'll be back here, and we have to take your luggage off. I say, okay, you can check in my luggage. And so she checked my luggage,
Yeah.
and I went to the gate. I ran because it was very short. And when I arrived to the gate, the man looked at me and said, it's a miracle. There's one seat for you. And the word a miracle, I say,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it. We can do it.
Right.
It's a little one, but
But
it
it happens.
but it happens. And when someone use the words, because I ask, I need that miracle, please. I need that miracle. I have to go in Paris and see my daughter. I need that miracle. And they say, wow, it's a miracle. Yes. Thank you.
For sure. I mean, I believe it. Those do exist.
It works, really.
I think as we kind of wind down, do you believe in YOLO or YALA? You only live once or you always live again?
Oh, wow. Say again.
Do you only live once or do you always live again?
Je suis pas sûre de comprendre.
Est-ce que do you only live once?
Est-ce que j'en ai 5?
Non, live, vivre,
Ok.
vivre. Est-ce que tu vis une seule fois ou est-ce que tu vis tout le temps?
Tout le temps.
Always live again.
Yeah.
So do you feel like we are reincarnated or your energy lives on? What's your take?
Est-ce que tu penses qu'on se réincarne?
Yeah.
We live again.
Yeah, we live again. I think, and I saw it with my children when they were born, the first, what they have in their eyes, they came from somewhere. Each of them. In French, we say nouveau-né, I think maybe newborn in English. And for me, no, they came from somewhere. They had life before.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it in their eyes. And so, yes, we and there is no death, and so no birth, and it's all illusion.
Mm. And moving into that idea or that certainty, so to say, what would you like to see for this next transition? No death, no birth, but there are new souls and new spirits coming to Earth.
Yeah.
What do you hope? What do you wish to see? Or what do you believe is going to start to happen next on Earth?
It's a good question. You know, when I was younger, when I told you I was vegetarian and I did yoga, and at that time it was really not good, and it was really not it was not the fashion, you know. And now it is. And I read books on that times saying you'll see a new age. You know, there was this new age.
Yeah.
It will come. People will be aware of new things, and I thought I won't see it in my life. It will be for another life, because when I was 20, 25, 30, for me it was not possible that one day people will understand that it's good to do yoga or good not to eat meat and fish for each meal, you know. And it happens. So I'm really optimistic.
Mm.
And I say, well, I see it in my life, in this life.
Mm-hmm.
I see the big change. And with the media, with social media, and
AI, of course.
yeah, AI and podcasts like you do, and we can talk about that. And it's I I really think that I don't know what is going to happen. I don't know the shape it's going to take, but people become more and more aware, and so things are changing a lot, and there's this opening. I don't know the shape, but I think it changed. Yes.
And it sounds like you feel like it changes for the better.
Yeah, of course.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a good way for all of us to collectively go towards.
Yeah. And to believe.
Right. Okay. Final question before we let you get on with your wonderful day here in Taiwan. Let me see. I want to choose a good one for you. Why do you think life gives us the experience, gives us the ability to experience this phenomena?
We are here for that. We are born to experience that phenomenon. This is the purpose of life, to be aware that we are part of the whole, and I understand this not for such a long time, but little by little I understand that this is the purpose in life, to understand that we are here to experience it, and our responsibility is to be aware of that.
Mic drop. That's it. Thank you for being on the
Thank you.
podcast.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure, and I'm sure we will have a longer conversation.
Yeah, I hope so.
On the next episode. Thank you so much.
Thank you.